Welcome to GoPowerCat.com's Friday Shoot-Around, sponsored by Riverbank Brewing. Now, let's head into the studio.
Welcome in here to the Friday Shoot-Around. As always, I'm Ryan Gilbert. We are joined by Clint Stewart, former Kansas State guard. You know the drill, breaking down K-State's 4-game winning streak now. The Cats keep on winning, a road win at Iowa State on Saturday, and they followed up with a close one at the end out in Tempe at Arizona State. K-State's playing well. We got a big game to talk about with KU coming up on Saturday. But before we can kind of break down, or I guess look ahead to the future, let's break down these last couple of games, Clint. I mean, Clint, you wore the purple jersey, man. You've got a lot of passion for this team, this program. How happy are you, and how much fun has it been for a guy like yourself to follow this team in this winning streak?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's a complete 180, and there's the way that the guys are playing and how hard they're playing together on the offensive end of the floor, playing a lot better defensively. Obviously, the ball screen coverage is a lot better, but this even help defense has been great. And, the way they're sharing the basketball, I think we saw in the last game, there was a time where the ball came down the floor. I think C.J. Jones had it, pushed it up, kicked it to Doug, and in the corner, he had the one more pass to Brendan Hausen for a three after Brendan just made one. And, the whole team is excited. The way they're finding the open guy is some of the stuff that they didn't do very well early on in the season. So you can definitely tell that the guys are becoming more comfortable in playing with one another, and that's been big. And so it's been fun. I'm enjoying it, and hopefully, they can continue this ride. And they got KU at home. We can continue playing well and go in and get another one. So 5 and 6 in the conference. I mean, anything can happen from here. So it's a good place to be.
Yeah, like you mentioned the Doug finding Brendan Hausen, and that ball was in and out of Doug's hands. This was one of the plays I broke down on the film study. That ball was in and out of Doug's hands in a millisecond, and he, had kind of the court awareness, the vision when the ball wasn't in his hands to recognize that Brendan was going to be open. So, he's looking for others. He's not just playing for himself. He'd rather set up his teammate Brendan than score himself or drive himself. And so, Doug has kind of obviously emerged as that point guard, but Brendan's the sniper. David's the anchor down low. You've got Coleman being Coleman, and then Max has kind of maybe jumped up as that X factor. Clint, you're looking at a starting five that really has just kind of grown into their roles, and they're playing well to them.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it all starts with the unselfishness. I mean, when you're unselfish and the ball, it finds energy, and so if you have energy, the ball is going to find, like Hausen's moving around now, and so the ball's finding him in open spots. But everyone has to be unselfish, and everyone has to look for the next player. And when that happens, I mean, good things, go the right way on the court. And so you see Coleman Hawkins finding guys out of the post. He hits Kassan a lot for easy opportunities. You see the guys finding Hausen running off screens. You see Doug taking the opportunities that are there for himself. As you see Max even get a little bit in the post, to kind of get closer to score the basketball. But what you really see is a team collectively using each other to score the ball, and I think that's what was missing early on is everyone thought that they had to go do it on their own, right? And when you have that kind of mentality, it becomes hard to score the basketball consistently. But when you're looking for that next guy and the ball's finding that next guy that's open, and it's always the one more pass. Everyone eats is what we say. Everyone gets to eat, man. And we're not trying to get one person to the table. All five are trying to get to the table to all eat. And when you do that, everyone can eat.
Lot to like in this winning streak, Clint, but you had a bad start at Iowa State and you had an awful start at Arizona State. Jerome Tang mentioned this in his press conference on Thursday. Maybe it's just as simple as, playing on the road versus playing at home. It's tough to come out and get that energy and set the tone. Do you see it maybe the same way? Is it just as simple as it's tough to play on the road and it's tough to come out with a good start? Or are you pinpointing anything in specific with these slow starts for Kansas State?
Yeah, I mean, you got to get settled in quickly, and sometimes it can take a little bit longer on the road than what it does, obviously, at home, where you're comfortable and you're hyped up because your fans are hyped up for you. And on the road, you got to generate your own energy, and then you got to come out and establish, kind of how the game is going to be played early. And I thought, against Arizona State, we came out and obviously down 15-0, but our first 4 shots were threes, and so you shoot 4 threes, you all miss them all, you turn the ball over twice, right? I mean, it's kind of not how you want to establish yourself early, right? And so I think you have to be aggressive. We have to be aggressive, trying to get to the free throw line, trying to get inside the paint early on to help score the basketball early, and then you start playing inside out, and then things start to fall from the outside. So, like I said, you always play better at home. That's just kind of known. But either way, whether at home or on the road, you want to start the game out kind of getting comfortable as quickly as you can by attacking the rim and being aggressive with the basketball. And then on the defensive side, the exact same thing. You want to be aggressive defensively and physical defensively to start the basketball game.
How impressive is it for K-State to go and, heading into this road stand, they had lost 15 in a row, to go in and win 2 in a row, especially given the slow starts? How impressive is it for this team to win away from home? Because we've seen the wins inside of Bramlage Coliseum to start this winning streak, but to do it on the road is a whole different beast.
Well, I think I heard someone say it was the largest K-State conference comeback win. It's down, I think we're down 15-16 maybe against Arizona State. And so it just shows that the guys, fought through adversity. They stuck together, which I think is going to bode well throughout the rest of the season. But when your back's against the wall, and I think our team felt like our backs were against the wall, it becomes like I said, why not us? We have to stick together. People have probably lost belief in what we can do. And so, which rightfully so, only we can turn that around. And what you saw is the guys really banded together. Obviously started following and listening to what Coach Tang was trying to do. And offensively, defensively, Coach Tang even talked about trying to simplify some stuff for them. And they just really bought in, collectively as a team. And when you buy in and everyone is on the same page, it's amazing, what can happen. And when guys aren't on the same page, you kind of already know it's going to be a destruction and it's not going to be a good thing. So it's hard. And to win on the road, it's hard to win a basketball game, period. And so everyone has to do their job. And if you do your job and you're focused on doing that, then the wins start coming.
What did you like most from the Iowa State game?
Yeah, I think Iowa State, we just out-toughed them, and a team that is known for being tough as far as how they play, and also, on the road in their house where you don't just walk into Iowa State and win a basketball game. It just doesn't happen like that. And so, I think we out-toughed them. I thought Doug was unstoppable. And I thought, from the outside, I've talked about this, we shot 23s, which I think our magic number, and just in my mind, just kind of watching the games, is around that 17 to 20, and then there's some games where we shoot more, but I wrote down some stats on that. And we actually, our last, let's just say our conference games, in our conference games, we shoot, let's see, the games we lost, we shot about 25 threes a game. The games we've won, we've shot about 21, right? So you look at, that's 4 possessions or 4 shot difference. All right. And a lot of times like, well, it's not that big of a deal, but coaches all the time talk about possessions matter. Every single possession is important. Right. And so if you take 4 possessions and then you look at the games that we've lost, well, we lost to KU by 10, right? So that's 4 or 5 possessions. We lost to TCU by 1. All right, less than 4 possessions. We lost to let's pull it out here because I had it all down. We lost to Baylor by 8. There's 4 possessions, right? Texas Tech by 4, less than 4 possessions. So you take those games, you look at the threes that we've shot, 28, 30 threes in some of those games. You say, man, we just had 4 possessions back. Could have been a different basketball game, right? And so I think that's what's impressed me the most. I think in our winning streak, we've shot it really well, which is good, but we're also not shooting 33s, right? And so we're trying to get the ball inside, trying to get into the paint. We're obviously posting up Hawkins. He's doing a great job distributing the basketball. Doug's playing phenomenal. And with Doug, you have to take some of the bad with the good, right? He's going to make phenomenal plays. He's also going to have some plays where like, oh, what are you trying to do there? Where are you trying to throw the basketball, right? But you have to let him play, because if you try to keep him constrained in a box, then you're not going to get the good stuff that he can do, right? And so you got to take some of his turnovers and say, you know what, next play, let's go. And then he's been doing a really good job of next play and then playing well down the stretch here.
Going off of the 3-pointers, right? Arizona State shot, what was it, 30-some from beyond the arc?
37.
Again, yeah, that backs up your point of you're not going to win many games. Unless they're all falling, you're not going to win many games just chucking up threes. Was that Kansas State's credit defensively for protecting the interior, or did you just think Arizona State was just didn't care and was chucking them all up.
I thought a little bit of both. I mean, there
Yeah.
were some shots that they took that I couldn't. I'm like, I can't believe that kid doesn't get subbed out of the game. I mean, it's just like, what are you
Right.
doing?
If Coach Stewart was coaching, he'd be out.
But our defense did a good job as well, trying to pack the paint. Make them shoot from the outside, contest shots. They shot 37, they made 12, so that's 32%. If you shoot 37 threes, it better be a night where you make 20. I mean, it's just like, okay, everything's falling, so yeah, we're going to keep shooting them. So I think that really played into our hands, especially when you look at they jumped out on us early, a team that's up 15-0, 16-2, 18-2, like you shouldn't be shooting 37 threes. I mean, you should be getting the basketball inside, working some of the clock, trying to be aggressive at the rim, because you're not playing catch up. You're not trying to come back and win a game, right? Where it's like, oh, got to take more threes to try to come back, But I thought, our defense has been phenomenal for the last few games. And, against Iowa State, only giving up 61 to one of the, better offenses in the conference. And then obviously against Arizona State, forcing them into 37 threes is a lot. And that allowed us to win the basketball game.
Clint, before we take a break, man, I know everybody wants to probably hear about the KU game. This is what everyone's talking about, but these were two huge wins. Before we go to break, just any more thoughts from you on the Iowa State and Arizona State game?
Yeah, I mean, Arizona State, I think one of the big things, David Gasson had 22 points. That's one off of his career high. He had 23 against Abilene Christian a couple of years ago. In that game, he shot 9 for 9. And so I'm sure he has the tape of that game and remembers that game and probably knows I was one off my career high. I could have had a career high, but he just played phenomenal. He does so many things well, as far as rebounding the basketball, scoring around the rim, setting screens, defending, blocking shots. Just a selfless player for our team. And so really happy for him and him stepping up and making free throws at the end of the basketball game where he only shoots 59%. And he stepped up and made his 2 free throws. I thought was huge. I think down the stretch, kind of give you some of my thought. We go up 71-67, and I really like at that point in time in the game with 50 seconds left, zoning, like coming out and throwing a zone just to throw them off. And it's kind of a catch-22, right? Because I know you want to man because you don't want to give up a 3. But, you come out in a zone and you haven't played zone all game. And I think it could really throw the offense off, as far as what they want to do. And then maybe they call a timeout and then you come back out and man and match up. But it all worked out for us and we ended up fouling them. And they got the N1. We didn't score on the other end, but then came down and fouled and then they missed the 2 free throws. So it all worked out, as it's supposed to. But it's really good to see our guys sticking together through rough starts, and then when you stick together through rough starts, you really kind of find out what your character is. And do the guys have the makeup to continue to try to do the right things the right way every single possession, or do they start going haywire and start trying to do their own thing when it gets tough? And I thought you saw our guys really stuck together. And so hopefully that can help us as we continue to move into the rest of the conference games.
Yeah, David Gasson had, I said on my film study, maybe the play of the year with that block or that foul, rather. If you let him get 2 points with a dunk, you probably lose that game. And, maybe he makes those free throws and you still go down swinging. But that foul from Gasson, obviously you get lucky and you get a 17-and-a-half-year-old to miss a pair at the line. The late game execution wasn't necessarily great, like you mentioned, but you got over the hump and you won. That's all that matters. And, did you give up the N1 and did Doug have to chuck up a 3 and you kind of came up empty on your last offensive possession? Yes, all that happened. But at the end of the day, a win's a win. And this team, like you said, you outlined kind of the close losses. This team has not been able to get over the hump in some of its defeats. Out in Tempe, it found a way late to come out with 1 more point than its opponent. So encouraging stuff from Kansas State in this 4-game winning streak. They're going to try to keep it going on Saturday against the Jayhawks. But first, a quick break right here on the Friday Shoot-Around.
It's time to take a break for our sponsors. We'll be back with more from GoPowerCat.com.
Nestled in the heart of beautiful and historic Council Grove, Kansas, Riverbank Brewing is the perfect place to stop before or after the game. Riverbank Brewing, located in downtown Council Grove.
Now let's head back to the show for more K-State sports coverage from GoPowerCat.com.
Clint, my man, you've been part of a court storming. I don't know if there will be a court storming if Kansas State wins this game, but storming the court, beating your rival inside of Brainwich Coliseum, that's got to be one of the best feelings of your life.
Oh yeah, it's so much fun. And I can remember like it was yesterday. I mean, obviously I still have the film, but it was just amazing feeling and being out there and being able to win. Obviously, we broke the streak, 24 games, 24 years, whatever it was, breaking the streak. And Michael Beasley up on the scores table, pumping his chest, and I think he had a lot to live up to after he said we'll beat them, here, there, Africa, anywhere, and so it was a lot of fun, and obviously being able to share that with the fan base and share that with K-State faithful and the Purple Pride, and I mean it's just amazing feeling being able to do that.
Speaking of bees, did you see he's going to be in Manhattan this weekend for the game? So
I did not see
there
that.
You go. There you go. Yeah. So I think he's having like a signing event, I believe at K's before the game. So
Okay.
K-State fans, if you'll be in Manhattan, that's certainly something to check out. But Clint, I've watched every game since you played of this rivalry, home and away. Sometimes you have that feeling of yeah, it's going to take a miracle to beat a Kansas team. And right now, the way this Kansas State team is playing, it is not going to take a miracle to beat KU. And KU's playing well, don't get me wrong, with all due respect. But the way Kansas State is playing, Jerome Tang's squad truly can compete with anybody in the Big 12.
Well, I think you see the belief. I mean, and that's the biggest thing is our guys are starting to believe, right, in one another, believe obviously in what Coach Tang and the staff is telling them to do, and that's been the biggest difference. And so, when you look at the game that was in Lawrence and in Allen Fieldhouse, that's a game once again that we got down 14-0, and if we don't get down 14-0. Who knows, how that game ends up. We lose by 10. So, it's one where our guys definitely will come out and believe that, hey, we can go beat them, and we're at home. So we expect to go beat them here at home. And, it'll be a big win for our guys if we can do that. So it's going to be a fun atmosphere. It's going to be a tough game. We're going to have to do some really good things. I think, what hurt us last time we played them was Hunter Dickinson. He's physical inside, and Zeke Mayo made some shots from the outside. I still think – we have to make DeJuan Harris, their point guard, beat us, and he's a guy that looks to set up all of their other players and does a really good job of facilitating and running their offense and kind of just taking some opportunities when they're there, but he doesn't shoot the ball from the outside very well. And so I would say, let's make him beat us, make him shoot 5 threes in this game. He only shoots 1.5 a game, so make him shoot 5. And if he beats us by making 4 out of 5 threes, as we're going under ball screens or whatever it might be, then hey, hats off to him. But I think that's got to be part of the game plan.
K-State, I mean, K-State's, we've talked about this on the shoot around, Clint, that when you're playing on the road, you've got to use that crowd noise to your advantage and want to shut them up and all that stuff. But now the roles are reversed. Kansas State in this game on Saturday is going to have a packed house, 12,000 strong inside of Bramlage behind their back. And I guess this might be a silly question, but that does help, of course, Kansas State's case without a doubt. But, Coleman Hawkins, when he's mentioning after the Iowa State win that he gets juiced up and he loves playing in front of big crowds like that, Kansas State, Clint, can't come out emotionally drunk in this game.
Yeah, and Hawkins kind of iterating some stuff that I think said as well. Being the villain on the road is kind of just a fun thing to be, right? Like you walk out and you're like, we just villainized this whole, like we just took them down and it's quiet in here and we're the only ones cheering and everyone's mad. It's kind of fun to have that atmosphere and obviously celebrating in the locker room, but playing at home as well, having the fans behind you and, being able to slap high fives after the game, during the game, being able to pump the crowd up during the game, that's just as fun as well. And the players feed off of the home crowd energy, and so, but you also have to give them something to cheer about, right? You can't come out flat and come out, hey, we just won a few games in a row, 4 games in a row, and and let KU come out and jump on us early. You got to give the crowd something to be excited about, and so we really need to have a good start from the very beginning and be in the game the entire game, and then, like I said, at the end, the last 5 minutes, we got to play really well to go win it. One of the things I think for viewers at home, one of the things to really pay attention to is, Coach Tang, after timeouts, he draws up some of the most phenomenal plays to get us some good looks. It doesn't mean that, we always make the shot or it always goes, according to how he drew it up. But more often than not, if you kind of just watch after timeouts, what do we do the next time we have the basketball? It's usually a set play that he's drawn up and we get a pretty good look out of it. So I think that will become key if the game is close down the stretch, getting a timeout and be able to score the basketball under that 5 minutes.
Yeah, I hate to keep plugging the film study, but that was again, Kansas State had 3 timeouts left in that Arizona State very well, later into it, and he burns one essentially to get a play like that where Clint mentioned and Hazen was on the bench. He came in, they drew it up, Doug got going downhill and kicked it out to Coleman, top of the key. He makes a three. And I always like to say that these plays don't mean anything unless the players execute. And obviously over this winning streak, you've seen the guys execute at a very high level. But Clint, you mentioned Dickinson and obviously Zeke Mayo, big games last time out, and you want to turn DeJuan Harris into more of a scorer or let him try to score, let him shoot. But what are some other keys? Maybe not just in terms of what you saw last time these two teams played, but maybe over these last 4 games with Kansas State. How does that blend together with the last loss at KU? How can that all come together for this team for its best chance to win?
Yeah, I think rebounding is going to be really important, and we've been rebounding the basketball really well against Arizona State, Iowa State. We've out rebounded those 2 teams. I have to look back at the 2 previous games, see if we did as well. But I would, if I was a betting man, I'd say, yeah, I believe we probably did. And so against KU, our last game, they out rebounded us 35-25. 10 rebound difference. And so we're going to have to block out Hunter Dickinson on the offensive glass. We cannot allow him to get second chance opportunities. KJ Adams as well. And then we're going to have to get some second chance opportunities. So, we got to be creative and getting in there and, and crashing the glass offensively when we can. But we really have to just limit them from getting second chance opportunities and being really physical, match the physicality to keep them off the glass. And with Gasson and Coleman, I think we can do that as long as they're up for the task. So I think that's probably one of the biggest keys is look for how do we rebound the basketball and who wins the rebounding margin.
Clint, you mentioned the effort and, Kansas State's effort, buy-in, all that stuff has been at a really high level, not only in just the winning streak, but the last couple of losses of that losing streak as well. You could see things were starting to kind of click and the wins weren't there, but you could see, it was just all clicking, right? Everything was coming together for this team, but the effort right now, the effort's been as high as it's been all season over the last number of games. You mentioned the rebounding. Is rebounding the best way to measure effort? Is that the best statistic to measure effort?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at the stats, then that's definitely one of the ways. That's rebounding is about being physical and it's about bringing that effort, and you can't allow teams to out rebound you. It's one of the things that Iowa State coach talked about. We were getting offensive rebounds in the first half, and just the toughness, that has to be there. And so I think the toughness and effort, you definitely can look at the rebounding margin and how that goes, especially giving up offensive rebounds. But then, I think some of it too is just the eye test. You can look at and tell, okay, are guys sprinting the spots? Are they sprinting around on defensively? Are they in gaps, or are they closing out hard, trying to contain the basketball or not, And so, you can really look at and say, defensively, are we on? We call it. Are we on a string where everyone is moving in sync together, right? Like we're forcing the ball to this spot on the floor because we know we have help behind, and that person behind is sprinting over into that help spot, right? And when the ball gets reversed, everyone's moving at the same time to close out to the basketball or get to the help side, right? And so I think that's another way. Is kind of the eye test of how hard are the guys playing on the defensive end of the basketball, and I think if you can look at the rebounding and you look at how hard they're playing to mitigate or to really just contest shots and to keep KU out of the paint and then being physical to keep them from getting offensive rebounds, I think that'll be the test.
I've asked you this a few times this season, but you're obviously, former coach, former guard for the team, Kansas State. What would be your message, right before this team? Before, let's be blunt here, the biggest game of the year, right? What would your message be before this team heads out of the locker room for the tip-off?
I think it would be, do what we have done the last, not just 4 games, but probably the last 7 games. Be us, right? Don't get out of character. Be us, because as we can see, there have been good results when we have done that, right? And so as long as we go out there and be us, and I mentioned in the last week, why not us, right? Why not? Why not beat KU at home? Why not, win 5 games in the conference in a row? Why not? Why not continue to go 1-0 every single game? have that kind of mentality. Every single possession is going to matter. And when it comes down to the end of the basketball game, make sure that you have given every single ounce of your energy to the game, right? Don't leave any stone unturned. Go out there and leave it all on the floor. So when you walk off that floor and we're victorious, we're celebrating together, right? If we walk off that floor and KU ended up beating us, we know that we did everything in our power to try to go win that basketball game, right? So I think that's the message. And as long as we do that, I think it'll be good results.
On Thursday, Clint, I asked Jerome Tang about the bench, and Kansas State's bench has only scored 10 points in the last 2 games combined. And so, you probably want some more scoring there, but Tang gave a good answer. As long as Ugo's protecting the rim and, CJ, if he can stay out of foul trouble, can provide some positives, and you continue to see maybe some growth out of your guy, David Castillo, Moby. He's been playing with tremendous energy. I guess you want scoring, of course, off the bench, but it doesn't necessarily matter as long as those starters are picking up the slack. If those secondary pieces, so to speak, kind of stay true to their role and just provide good energy, rebound, hustle, you agree that maybe you don't necessarily need those guys off the bench to score as long as Hazen and Gassans and McDaniels and Jones and who's the last starter? I'm blanking out here, Clint. The starting 5, as long as they're all scoring, I guess it doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, and Hawkins is a lot.
I'm sorry, Coleman, if you're watching this, my man.
But you look at it, and I would be more concerned if you say, okay, our bench is getting a lot of minutes, right, and they're playing 20. We have 3 or 4 guys, 3 guys playing 20 minutes a game, and not giving us any production from a scoring standpoint. But when you really look at you just look at the last 2 games. I mean, our starters have all played over 30 minutes, except for Hazen against Arizona State. He played 29, right? But you look at Doug played 38, Hawkins played 35, Max played 34, Gasson played 36. The game before that, Hawkins played 39, Max played 35, Doug 34. So our bench isn't getting a lot of minutes. So with that in mind, I wouldn't be as concerned with them scoring the basketball, right? Because we are riding our starters heavy, right? And so, we expect our starters to be out there and to carry us, into the game and give us a chance to win. And so, you still want to have production, and it doesn't mean that the guys that come off the bench, just come out here and to look to pass the basketball. Like, you have to be ready to take the opportunity when it's there, and when they do take that, they got to shoot the basketball with confidence, or Moby around the rim, he missed a dunk last game, go ahead and dunk it through with confidence and things of that nature. But I wouldn't be as concerned with it because we are riding our starters with a lot of minutes.
Real quick, before we go to Arizona to wrap up the show, is it sustainable for the starters to go in there for 33 minutes here, 37 minutes there?
It can be tiring over time, right? And no player will tell you, Coach, I want to play less minutes. I mean, no one's going to say I want to play less, right? It's always I want to play more. Now there's times in the game where like, yeah, I'm tired. Hey, can I get a quick break? And all right, now get me back in. But no player's going to look, and Coleman's not going to look at this and say, oh, I played 39 minutes, Coach. Can I play 38 or 37? He's going to say, no, man, why didn't I play 40? I could have played all 40, And so, but realistically, over time, it can be hard to sustain. But also when you're in the midst of where we're at, and we've been kind of doing this over the last several games and we're winning, then why change it, right? And so
Sure.
Now, once things kind of balance out, then you might have to change it and start relying a little bit more on some of the bench players to come in and give us some more minutes and better minutes. But until that time happens, it's kind of some of the superstition thing there of like, hey, this is how we've been winning, so let's continue doing it this way.
Arizona's coming up after the KU game, and if you win against Kansas, you're going to be really high, riding high after that win. And if you lose it, you can't allow it to spiral. You can't be down in the dumps. You got a real good Arizona team coming in, win or lose, to Brentwood Coliseum.
Yeah, and they're phenomenal offensively. I think they got transfer Caleb Love, who played at UNC and then went to the Final Four with UNC, and then he's a great shooter and scorer, and probably an NBA, probably first or second round pick, or if not, definitely be on one of the summer league teams this summer. And so they're top 20 in scoring, they're top 20 in assist, and they're top 30 in free throw percentage. So, They share the ball, they score the basketball, and if you foul them, they're going to make their free throws. So we're going to have to keep up with them. I think if we can hold them to 61 points like we did Iowa State, that would be phenomenal. But I don't know if we can just bank on that. But we're going to definitely have to guard defensively, make everything tough, and we're going to have to score the basketball. When we score the ball pretty well, hopefully at home, and get our crowd energy behind us and be able to make some shots from the outside. But what I'd like to see us do is be the more physical team and be the more aggressor to start the basketball game. Come out with the energy. Obviously win or lose against KU, come back against Arizona State and bring the energy to start the game the right way. And then, like I said, carry that into the rest of the basketball game.
Clint, appreciate you very much. As always, it's going to be a lot of fun over these next couple of games. Kansas State, the Octagon of Doom should be rocking. K-State's got a real good, true chance to pull off some upsets.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fun. And EMA, go K-State.
All right, we'll be right back here next week on the Friday shoot around. But until then, K-State's got back-to-back home games against Kansas and Arizona.
Thank you for watching the Friday shoot around, sponsored by Riverbank Brewing. This has been a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production.